Today we are making some classic comfort food, chicken and dumplings. I've taken my favorite family-sized recipe and reduced it down to feed 2 people. It's a rich chicken broth filled with vegetables and chicken and topped with a light and fluffy dumplings. Join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. I'm going to link to my original chicken and dumpling recipe, which is on my blog over at yourhomebasedmom.com, which will feed the entire family. And also here on YouTube, I have shared my Instapot version of chicken dumplings. So check those out if you need to feed more people. We're going to start by prepping our chicken. Now this recipe is going to use 1 boneless, skinless chicken breast. You could also use some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I would use 2. This is a perfect recipe for any leftover chicken you may have. If you've got some leftover rotisserie chicken or just any chicken, you're going to need about 1.5 cups of chopped or shredded chicken. Sometimes I throw in a little bit more, but whatever one chicken breast is what we're going to use today. So I'm going to show you a favorite way to prep the chicken breast. Now I like to cover it with some wax paper, and I'm going to take my little meat tenderizer and use the flat size of it, and I'm going to pound it to get the chicken breast into an even thickness. This is going to help the chicken to cook quicker and more evenly. Then we're going to take a little bit of ground pepper and just season up the chicken a little bit before we cook it. I'm going to add a little salt, and then I like to add in a little garlic powder too, or a lot of garlic powder. I am heating up my pan here. I'm just using my cast iron pan. I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil, and then we're going to add our chicken in, and I'm going to put it in with the seasoned side down. Oop, have a little bit of carrot on there. And then I'm going to season again the other side. Let it cook until it's cooked all the way through. Time will depend, of course, on how thin you got your chicken. And you want to cook it just until, chicken is cooked at 165. I usually cook mine to about 155 and then let it sit and rest to bring it up to temperature. I also like to just cover over the top of it too, which helps it to cook a little bit quicker. And then after our chicken has set for a few minutes, we're just going to slice it. You could shred it, you could cube it, dice it, do whatever you want. All right, after our chicken is ready, we are going to mix up the broth. And so we're going to put in about 1/2 tablespoon of butter. And I'm just using, this is a small cast iron pot. You want some with some depth because you're going to be putting the dumplings on top, and you also need something with a lid, okay? And it's all done on the stovetop. And then I'm going to add in this is 1 large carrot, which I peeled and chopped, or about 1 cup of carrot, 1 stalk, or about 1/2 cup of celery, and then about 1/4 cup of onion. And into that I'm also going to add about 1 teaspoon of chopped minced garlic. Then we're just going to let this saute until the veggies get about fork tender. Our vegetables are nice and fork tender. And we're going to add in our 3 cups of chicken broth or chicken stock. And then for our seasoning, we're going to use 1/4 teaspoon of poultry seasoning and 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. You can, of course, switch up the seasoning if you want, but I really like the flavor of the poultry seasoning in here. I think it makes a big difference. And then we're going to take that chicken that we cooked up, and it's about 1.5 cups or so of chicken, and add that in. Now, we want to bring this up to a boil. The trick with dumplings is you always want to make sure you put your dumplings in on top of hot liquid. So if you want to make this ahead of time, go ahead and make it ahead of time up to this point. Refrigerate it, but then when you bring it back out, make sure you bring it back up to a boil again before you add in the dumplings. Otherwise, the bottom of your dumplings are not going to cook. So we're going to let that come to a boil while we mix up our dumplings. All right, for our dumplings, we are going to use Bisquick. Now, Bisquick is a pancake and baking mix. Now, if you don't get Bisquick where you live, I'm going to link to a substitute how you can make your own, or if you just don't have it in your kitchen and want to make your own, I'll link to that down below. But you could also use a different brand of pancake and baking mix, but I always use Bisquick. So I've got 3/4 cup of the Bisquick in my bowl. I'm going to add in the secret ingredient to a light and fluffy dumpling is sour cream. 3 tablespoons of sour cream are going to go in here. And then I'm going to add in about 2.5, you may need a little bit more, of milk. And I'm just using 2%, is what I had in my refrigerator. And if you want to get a little extra fancy, at this point you could put some herbs in or some chopped chives, something like that. But we're just going to leave our dumplings plain today. So on the dumplings, it is going to be a really damp, wet dough, okay? So that's the way you want it. I ended up adding in about another 1/2 tablespoon of milk to get it to this consistency, okay? So wet and damp is what it should look like. All right, we brought that to our mixture here to a boil. I've turned it down now to a simmer, and we are going to add our dumplings. And we're just going to take spoonfuls, and you can make your dumplings as big or small as you want them to be. Just a spoonful like this, and then we're going to plop it in on top of the hot mixture. Now, your dumplings may sink to the bottom. Totally okay. As they cook, they're going to float right back up to the top. So just spread them around on the top. You know, a little bit of space in between them because they are going to expand. I'm going to get about 4.5 dumplings, which is fine because that makes 2 for Jim and 2.5 for me, because the dumplings really are my absolute favorite part of chicken and dumplings. I think I actually make these just so I can eat the dumplings. All right, got our dumplings in, and you can see they have sunk down to the bottom, but we're going to put our lid on and we're going to simmer it for about 10 to 15 minutes. Try not to peek too much because when you do, it releases all that steam. But after about 10 minutes, you can check. They're going to look a little damp on top. That is okay. They will dry out as soon as the air hits them, but they'll be light and fluffy and floating right on top. All right, it is done and ready. Turn off my stove top there. Now, like I said before, the dumplings are going to look a little damp. That's totally fine. That is the way they should. They're going to dry out a little bit as the air gets to them. Now, this is going to be really, really hot, okay? So let it cool a little bit so you don't burn your mouth. And you may think initially, I just like to take a spoon and look at these fluffy, yummy dumplings. Put a dumpling in the bowl, and then I'll go in and get some of the juice, the gravy, the liquid, the chicken, and the carrots. Now, it may seem to you like, oh, it's kind of thin. I thought it would have a thicker gravy. Well, here's the beauty of these dumplings with chicken and dumplings is as you bite into the dumpling and you start eating it and that dumpling starts to break apart into the broth, it is going to start to thicken your juice, and it's going to be just perfect. I find that if I thicken the juice, the chicken broth ahead of time, once you break the biscuit into it, it just gets too thick. So this is the way I like it. If you want to thicken your juice, go right ahead and do it. But I find that the dumpling does a great job. So ready, chicken and dumplings, the perfect comfort food. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. Be sure and check out my other small batch main dish recipes down below, and I'll see you in the next video.